In the House, I do believe our friend, the professor of political science, Glenn Antizzo. I have no problems. This guy's a pro. Unlike...
Exactly.
This guy's a pro. I have an opening quick shot here that I'll share with you. How in the world can you be a school bus driver and be sipping an alcoholic drink while driving and still keep your job? And she may or may not, but apparently she's going to stay out of jail. We turn to Amal Hanna for the answer. She is a delightful lady, 60 years old. She's been driving a bus for 15 years in Long Island.
Oh, no. That's where I'm from.
And I just wanted to make sure that you understood this. She was caught with an alcoholic drink while taking the kids home, and high school kids home.
Oh, no.
Apparently, she started getting a little giddy and dizzy, and she explained. Because she said, and she may stay out of trouble because she explained it in the right way. She said she's been fired from her job. She's been there for 15 years. She's trying to explain to them. In the news interview, she explained that she's been undergoing chemotherapy for cancer, and she's been unable to really taste alcohol. Plus, the stuff was some kind of new stuff she picked up. It was refreshing. She really enjoyed it.
I'll bet she did.
She had no idea what White Claw was. White Claw is got alcohol in it. She did not know that. She said it was just a mistake. Hannah, the cops believed her story, and apparently they're not going to prosecute her. She's trying to get her job back. But I'll be honest with you, some of the things that, and there's so many different products out there, I can see how you make a mistake.
Wow. Paul, I got to ask, does it say what school district this was?
It says here, the school district of Glen Antizzo. You did have that on the original. I don't see it.
No,
on this
I'm just hoping that it was not the Port Jefferson Public Schools. That's where my family lives.
And I'll see if I can find that. All right, man. So much to talk about here.
Yes.
This on the darker side of the news, this thing is falling apart. Is it to all of us? First of all, we're going to have to get this reality. This is not going to be a short-term skirmish, is it?
No, I think, the analogies that the Israelis have been using are, this is their 9/11 and this is their Pearl Harbor. Now, certainly it's their Pearl Harbor because it was a completely surprise attack. It took everybody off guard. And it's their 9/11 because even though the numbers of people that have been killed are smaller, if you think about it, proportionally, I mean, Israel's got essentially the combined population of the states of Louisiana and Mississippi put together. So proportionally, this probably is something, very similar. Yeah. And on a certain level, it's even worse because you actually have now video of people being kidnapped and killed right on Israeli territory. And I got to imagine this is jarring. My understanding is that this is the first time that there's been this kind of action within the 1948 boundaries of Israel since about 50 years. And they chose the date carefully, I think. This was one day after the 50th anniversary of the start of the war in 1973.
Yeah, but people know the sensitivity on these dates. They live with this.
Yes.
It's ingrained in them.
Yes.
Yet, we had a peace festival going on. There was no talk of this either in America or in Israel. And what happened? Why did intelligence fail the Israeli people on this?
Well, actually, there was a report that the Egyptian Mukarabat, their intelligence service, contacted Israel and let them know, and the Israelis didn't take it seriously. But I think that a lot of times what happens is we try to dismiss things that are obvious to us. Hamas had spent the last year or so trying to portray themselves as putting together a respectable government, getting work visas for Palestinians to go from the Gaza Strip to the West Bank or to go into Israel so that they could work, because evidently they can make 7 to 10 times more there than they can in Gaza. And so I think we will lulled into, and when I say we, I mean pretty much everybody in the West, we're lulled into a false sense of security. But my understanding is also that they had actually set up a mock-up of some of the places that they were going to attack, and that it would seem to me that you should have been able to see this with satellite photos.
Very, very true, especially with the sophistication we have today.
Right.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say also, it's funny how, I don't know if you were about to say this, but how the story is starting to change. Originally on Sunday, a spokesman for Hamas had contacted the BBC, or actually spoke to them during an interview, and said that the attacks had been approved and backed by the Iranian government. And then yesterday, the sort of reeling it back, a senior official with Hamas said that only a small inner circle of leadership knew, and they denied that Iran had helped plan the attacks or approved anything. But there were a series of meetings that were held in Beirut, and that is believed to be where the go-ahead was given.
Well, what is so distasteful on this one also is the Democrats never, ever give up. And no matter where the crisis is, I was reading reports from late yesterday into this morning where some of the leadership of the Democrat Party saying, oh, my God, this is going to worsen. This may be a catastrophe simply because there is no Speaker of the House. Nothing can happen. Nothing. It's doomsday because of the Republicans and their disunity. This is going to be 1,000 times worse because there is no Speaker named. And then other people saying, what? Are you crazy?
Yeah, well, first of all, the Speaker doesn't determine foreign policy. The President does.
Thank you.
Secondly, also, my Congressman, Benny Thompson, was very quick to jump on that bandwagon. And he said, the Republicans are showing no leadership here, and because we don't have a Speaker, we can't react quickly. We need to get another one in there, and, of course, plugged Hakeem Jeffries. But, the reason we don't have a Speaker, Congressman, is because you voted to remove him. It was 8 Republicans and all the Democrats.
Yeah, that's exact. Let's forget that little tidbit of information. Well, I'm not sure if Hakeem is going to come down and he should come on down and side by side politic a little bit with Brandon Presley, but I don't know if it's going to happen. What's next on this? What do we do? As America, because we're shipping now more ammunition, we're shipping more armament, apparently more dollars to them, to Israel.
Yes.
And, I mean, they're pretty well fortified. They may have more armament than we do, because we had reports out there from the Department of Defense even 2 months ago that we're short on ammo, we're short on this, we're short on that, and some of the military installations are working as hard as they can to replace some of the stuff that we're sending to Ukraine. Yeah. Have we forgotten about Ukraine right now?
It's funny because I think the Russians must be very gratified that this is happening, because now it'll take some of the pressure off of them. Yep. And you're right. I mean, Israel is pretty much, America's key ally in the Middle East, and this is going to have some serious implications. But first, going to what you said about the weaponry, obviously our stocks are depleted. I would think about buying stock in some things like General Dynamics and General Electric if you're looking for a place to invest right now, because I have a feeling those plants are going to be working overtime.
Let me put it this way also. We're not going to be able to send them any oil and gas for the tanks that we send them, because our strategic oil reserves are depleted seriously and dangerously low. So that's another thing. Back with more. Back with our guest, Professor Glenn Antizzo. It was Trump who he was at Mar-a-Lago, and he was talking about Milley when he was president. He asked him, he said, why don't we get that equipment out of, why didn't they get the equipment out of there? He said, that's when and Milley told him, he said, leaving the planes behind was cheaper than moving them to another country. Yeah. And that's when I realized he was an effing idiot, Trump told the crowd there. But this leads to another thing, too. Are we ever going to see another private sector guy or lady run for the presidency of the United States of America? And I doubt it very seriously. When you start talking about what he's gone through as far as his income tax returns, going after his business, going after his kids and their businesses and everything like that. Why in the world would anyone, I don't care if it's Mark Cuban, whomever it happens to be, unless you're a Democrat, of course, because the Republicans can't play this dirty. But who would ever do that? You better be in the old boys club and be a seasoned politician and not stick your nose into their business.
Yeah, no, I think Vivek might be the only one on the Republican side. I can't really think of anybody else. Of course, Bobby Kennedy Jr. came out yesterday and said that he was going to run as an independent, but it'll be.
You think he has? What do you think he's going to do to the race?
Here's the crazy thing. I think Cornel West, who is that Princeton professor, I think he'll scoop some people from the Biden side. Believe it or not, I think there's a chance that Bobby Kennedy may scoop off some people on the Republican side.
I do. I think so too. Here's my, and this is terrible to say. Could I listen to this for 4 years, though?
But the good news is that people like yourselves are finally fed up. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here to declare myself an independent candidate.
I mean, he's got a following, but I mean, 4 years of laborious, I don't know.
Yeah.
The other part of that is this. Outside the vaccines, which some people think his views are wacky, many people do not. But he does have some other rather wacky political ideology or ideology, period.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that will stop him from having broad appeal. Yeah. But this is one of those times. I don't think the impact will be as big as Ross Perot in '92 or '96, where Perot got like 19% of the vote in '92 or 10% in '96. But I think between Cornel West and Kennedy, I think that there is a chance that nobody gets a majority. Obviously, there's a lot of discontent in the country right now. I just went to a restaurant. And the sandwich that I bought a few months ago is now $2 more than it was. Gasoline prices, thank goodness, we're coming down. But anytime there's trouble in the Middle East, they'll go back up. So I'm going to stop at the corner gas station here on my way out, where it was still $2.82.
I have a story that we were looking at something. I forgot what it was, and it was different things where prices went up. Mm-hmm. A bottle of generic hairspray. And I still don't understand this, was $22. And
what?
This was $22? I thought it was a misprint, but there were several different brands, and these were generic.
I find that hard.
I find it hard to believe. But you're right. I mean, you go back and you look at some stuff as far as the gas right now. It's not going down. As a matter of fact, I think it was over $100 a barrel a couple of days ago. Lance will probably get us a repeat on that one. You know what a Black Hawk cost?
No.
If you fully outfit a Black Hawk, it's $40.1 million each.
Wow.
We left 43 MD-530 helicopters. That's a little bit smaller. We left the large Mi-17s. We left 33 of those. We left UH-60 Black Hawks. We left 33 of those. 33, 33, 43.
Yeah.
That's how many helicopters we left for them. And they are flying those because they were in good shape now. So have you heard that there's some of this military equipment that was used by Hamas?
Yeah, no, one of my students had said that he'd read an article that said, and I had not had a chance to verify this myself, but that some of the arms that we had left behind in Afghanistan were making their way there. But make no mistake about this. The way that they're paying for a lot of the weaponry they have is they're getting tons and tons of money from the Iranian government. The Iranians send Hezbollah, the sister group in Lebanon, $1 billion a year. They send Hamas $100 million a year. So Hamas is getting more aid from Iran than some countries getting foreign aid from us. Wow. And my understanding is that the rockets that are being fired are of Iranian design, and I don't know whether they're manufactured in Iran or manufactured in Gaza, but they are certainly getting bankrolled. Because where else would a place that's 25 miles wide by, I should say 25 miles long by about 7 miles wide, with no natural resources to speak of, be getting money from? And the answer is it's coming from outside. And it's a Sunni group, which, would at first sort of raises a question about Iran. But I guess that, the old Arab proverb of the enemy of my enemy is my friend works here, because as long as they hate Israel or pledge to, there was a chant in London, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. That they want to drive the Jews out of the Middle East and destroy the place, which, has basically been Iranian foreign policy since 1979.
You know the status of the $6 billion?
My understanding, you're talking about the money released from South Korea.
Money, yeah.
Right. Yeah. My understanding is that it was held in South Korea, that they were not allowed to release the money because of sanctions that otherwise would have been put on everybody involved in the transaction. My understanding is the Qataris are in control of the money, and that they dole the money out for humanitarian supplies like medicine, food. However, picture this analogy. My kid is going to college, and my kid has saved up money, and my kid is going to have to pay tuition. But then I surprise my kid and say, you know what, I'm going to pay your tuition, and I'm going to pay for your meal plan, and I'm going to pay for your books. But I'm telling you right now, Glenn Jr., that you better not be spending any of this money on, alcohol or having a good time, because I don't want to hear it. So what does the kid do? The kid takes the money they saved, and they stay in technical compliance with what I requested, not spending my money, and they get the stuff that they want anyway. That's what's going on here.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly.
And then we had someone on yesterday, we were talking about this, that the value of this is far more than $6 billion when you talk about the sanctions being lifted.
Right.
And the oil and everything else. It's more like $60 billion. Mm-hmm. So this little strip of land's got lots of money to buy weaponry.
Yeah. Not enough to take care of their people, not enough to eliminate the problems, not enough to turn Gaza around. And I understand, the frustration with not having a homeland. But at the same time, I mean, if Israel's got these ongoing security issues, how can Israel ever allow that to happen? And I think there's another ulterior motive here. I think that there was worry on the part of Iran that there was the beginning of a sort of a strategic consensus, to use the Reagan term, in the Middle East. Israel was having talks with Saudi Arabia about normalizing relations, and I think that they were hoping that something like this would derail those talks. And for the moment, they have been derailed, but I think that, I think the Saudis and the Israelis both see that there are bigger fish to fry than Hamas. But I think also that Hamas and Iran are hoping that Israel is going to go in there, that there are going to be a lot of civilian deaths. And like in a football game in the NFL, it's not the first guy who shoves who gets the flag, it's the second guy.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I think that that's what's going to happen here. I think the media is chopping at the bit to begin to portray the Israelis as the aggressors if they go in there in the way that they, I think, have to at this point in order to clean out Gaza.
But what do you think the president's going to say at noon? More of this?
Turn on the television, and there's not a whole lot about boy saves dog as he swims in the lake, to say, it's about, somebody pushed the dog in the lake. I mean, I get it.
Go ahead, sir. Go.
But
what? No. Man. No, he's supposed to speak at noon today, so I'm not sure what he's going to say.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I think he's going to say the usual boilerplate stuff about how Israel is a key ally, and this behavior by Hamas is unacceptable. Unacceptable never strikes me as like strong enough. I know it's diplomatic speak, but I would like to see a little passion on this.
Yeah. We're almost out of time here, so but I do want to ask you this.
Sure.
What do you think the drop dead date is coming up? Was it the first of the year for him to decide he's going to run or not run?
Yeah, I think it's probably at the end of the year. He really has. He's got the primaries coming up very early in the year, and I think the Iowa caucuses are in January. So.
Yep. So he's got to. I don't think he's going to run. I think one way or the other he's out. He can't possibly. So we'll see. Yeah. I wish he would, to be honest with you. It's always a pleasure, sir. You are power-packed full of information. Glenn Antizzo, who's the professor of political science, Mississippi College. Thank you, man. Look forward to seeing you.
Thank you, Paul.
Take
Glad
care.
to be here. Thanks.
News coming up.